The origins of Ascension Day trace back to the Ascension of Jesus, a moment described in the New Testament when 40 days after Easter, Christ rises into heaven before his disciples. It is an image that has inspired centuries of art, literature, and contemplation. In paintings from the Renaissance, the scene often unfolds like a visual crescendo. In works attributed to masters such as Giotto or Rembrandt, the earthly figures remain grounded, almost heavy with human emotion, while the ascending figure becomes lighter, almost dissolving into light itself. One can think of the Ascension, where Christ rises within a cloud of radiance, or the Ascension of Christ, where light itself seems to carry the body upward. It is less a departure than a transformation, a vanishing that feels like an arrival. And France, with its long memory and layered traditions, took this moment and gave it a place not just in churches, but in the rhythm of life. By the Middle Ages, Ascension Day had become one of the great feasts in France. Church bells rang not just as signals, but as voices. Entire villages would pause, as if the day itself required stillness to be properly heard. Cathedrals like Notre Dame de Paris would host solemn masses, their vast interiors echoing with chants that seemed designed to rise upward, note by note, like invisible staircases. The architecture itself participates in the idea of ascension. Gothic vaults stretch skyward as if obeying an ancient instinct to reach beyond stone. As Victor Hugo once wrote in Notre Dame de Paris, les grandes choses se font par la foi, a line that lingers here where stone, sound and belief meet. Pourquoi les cloches sonnent si longtemps? C'est l'ascension. Elle monte vers le ciel comme une prière. Fast forward to modern France, and Ascension Day carries a delightful twist. Because it always falls on a Thursday, it invites a uniquely French invention, faire le pont, making the bridge. Friday becomes a suspended day, a quiet annex to the holiday. Tu travailles demain? Non, je fais le pont. 4 jours de liberté. C'est presque une tradition nationale. This pause, this gentle escape, feels almost poetic. It echoes the words of Marcel Proust in Search of Lost Time. Le véritable voyage de découverte ne consiste pas à chercher de nouveaux paysages, mais à voir de nouveaux yeux. Long before traffic jams and weekend escapes, Ascension Day was deeply tied to the land. In rural France, priests and villagers would walk through fields in processions, blessing crops and asking for protection. It was a choreography of hope, where each step carried a silent wish for abundance. Writers like Georges Sand, who captured the soul of the French countryside, often describe these moments when nature and spirituality seem to speak the same language. The rustling of wheat, the distant toll of bells, the murmured prayers, all part of the same quiet conversation. One might hear an echo of Alphonse de Lamartine, who wrote, Objet inanimé, avez-vous donc une âme? On Ascension Day, the answer feels almost like yes. In some regions, rain on Ascension Day was seen as a blessing for future harvests. In others, it was considered a bad omen. France, ever comfortable with paradox, lets both beliefs coexist like two old friends who never quite agree. Ascension Day does not unfold the same way everywhere. It shifts like light through stained glass. In vineyard regions, processions once moved between rows of vines, asking for protection from storms and disease. Pourquoi ils marchent dans les vignes? Pour bénir la récolte. Sans ça, le vin n'a pas de chance. In alpine villages, bells ring with a kind of urgency, echoing off mountains as if trying to reach heaven by sheer persistence. In Brittany, where Celtic echoes still linger beneath the surface, Ascension sometimes blends with older seasonal traditions. The land there feels ancient in a different way, as if every hill remembers something. The atmosphere recalls the evocative imagery of Gustave Flaubert, who once observed, "Le souvenir, c'est le parfum de l'âme." And on this day, memory seems to drift everywhere. Ascension Day has always carried a touch of the intangible. Some believed that on this day, the boundary between heaven and earth softens, not dramatically, not visibly, but enough to be felt. In certain rural traditions, people avoided heavy labor, especially work involving soil or iron, fearing it might disturb the delicate balance of the day. And then there are the small, almost whimsical beliefs. Bread baked on Ascension Day would never spoil. A bold statement, a poetic one. Writers like Victor Hugo, who often wove the spiritual into the everyday, might have appreciated such ideas, where the miraculous hides quietly inside ordinary objects. His line comes to mind, "La vie est une fleur dont l'amour est le miel." Modern France experiences Ascension Day as a blend of sacred and secular. Some attend Mass, others wander through markets, noticing the slower pace, the softened edges of the day. Pourquoi tout est si calme aujourd'hui? C'est l'ascension. Même la ville respire plus lentement. The idea of ascension, of rising, has fascinated artists for centuries. In literature it appears not only as a religious concept, but as a metaphor for transformation, for transcendence. Even in secular works, the image of moving upward often carries emotional weight. French poets have often played with the sky as a symbol. In the works of Charles Baudelaire, the sky can be both oppressive and liberating, a mirror of the human soul. In Les Fleurs du Mal, he writes, "Là, tout n'est qu'ordre et beauté, luxe, calme et volupté." A line that feels almost like a promise of a world just beyond reach. Ascension Day, in this sense, becomes more than a religious observance. It becomes a question. What does it mean to rise, to leave something behind, to become lighter? Le pont et le ciel. Jeudi matin, il fait beau. Paul regarde par la fenêtre. C'est quel jour aujourd'hui, demande-t-il. C'est l'Ascension, répond sa sœur. Paul sourit. Alors on fait le pont? Oui. On part à la campagne. Dans la voiture, ils chantent. La route est longue, mais belle. Ils arrivent dans un petit village. Il y a une église et des fleurs partout. Regarde, dit sa sœur, il y a une procession. Les gens marchent lentement. Ils chantent. Paul écoute. Il ne comprend pas tout, mais il aime la musique. Plus tard, il mange sous un arbre. Le vent est doux. Pourquoi on célèbre l'ascension, demande Paul. Sa sœur réfléchit. C'est une histoire. Quelqu'un monte au ciel. Paul regarde le ciel bleu. Tu crois que c'est possible? Peut-être, dit-elle, ou peut-être c'est une façon de rêver. Le soir, Paul ferme les yeux. Il imagine qu'il monte doucement comme un oiseau. Puis il rit. J'aime ce jour, dit-il. C'est un jour calme, c'est un jour léger. C'est un jour entre la terre et le ciel. Ascension Day in France is not just something you learn about, it's something you feel, like a breeze you didn't expect. So now it's your turn. If you could rise somewhere for a long weekend, where would you go? Do you have a holiday that feels different, almost suspended in time? And for your French practice, write 1 or 2 simple sentences about ce que vous faites pendant l'ascension. Because every sentence you write is its own small ascension, lifting you word by word into a new language. À très bientôt.